of Jannah. So what we're going to do as well, before we actually get into the notes, there's a few things I want to mention about Jannah. The first thing I want us to contemplate on when we talk about Jannah is the mere fact that there's no pain, there's no sadness, there's no sickness, there's nothing to disturb the person. That in and of itself is enough to encourage a person to want to obtain what? You have a lot of different people, and let's be honest, you have a lot of different people that we know that we love that may have passed away due to sickness, due to cancer, or to whatever other disease that may exist. And that sadness that you felt, the mere fact that one day, again, inshallah ta'ala, that you can be with this person, or your mother who passed away, or the children who passed away, or your grandparents who you were close to, the mere fact that one day you can be with these people again, ila al-abad, until forever. The mere fact that you can have that alone should encourage a person to want to obtain Jannah. As well as, again, if you may be a person that they're inflicted with a sickness themselves, they may be dealing with cancer, the mere fact that you will have a reward that will never, ever end, that in and of itself should be enough to encourage a person to want to enter Jannah, inshallah ta'ala. Again, there's two more things we're going to mention, inshallah, before we actually go into the class. And this is, I'm going to ask a question. Is Jannah the same Jannah that it was during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Has it changed, or is it the same Jannah? Huh? Same. It's the same one. You sure?
Yeah. I'm going to say it changed.
50-50? It changed because 2018 changed?
It's changed.
When did it change?
When did it change?
Well, because he said you sure, so it's a trick question. So yeah, it changed.
Well, that's wrong, brother.
Well,
There was no trick, then you tricked yourself. All right. The reason why I asked that question, because I want you to contemplate on this. It's the same Jannah. How long ago did the Prophet say something? How long did he live?
1,400 years ago.
Huh?
1,400 years ago.
14. Somebody said 60 years ago?
No, he said how long did
I
he
said
live?
Prophet Muhammad, not
You
Elijah
said how
Muhammad.
long ago, right?
Huh?
You said how long ago?
Yeah, how long ago? About 1,400 years ago. All right, 1,400 to 1,500 years ago. Alhamdulillah. The reason why that's important, this is the same Jannah that Allah encourages everyone in the Quran. It's the same Jannah that He encouraged the Prophet ﷺ with, that He encouraged Abu Bakr, Siddiq, and the rest of the companions with, and He also encourages us with. The reason why this is important is look at the technology of advances that we have made throughout those years. For an example, if the companions can see airplanes and iPads and all this stuff today, they will be amazed, right or wrong?
Yes.
All right? And just imagine the technology advances we'll make in 1,000 years or whatever the case may be. We will even be amazed at what they would get. But the reason why that's as important is because Jannah trumps all of that. Doesn't matter what age it is. The rewards in Jannah are something you can't even fathom. So therefore, being that, that's why it's important, being that it's the same Jannah, but it still makes the companions excited to want to get it. And it still makes us excited to want to get it. It'll make those that come after us, whether it be 1,000 or 1,000,000 years later, it's going to be the same Jannah. So therefore, there's nothing materialistic that you can ever have that should replace that love of what? We understand that? All right, so now, if you're taking notes, the first note I want you to take is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He constantly says throughout the Quran, لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, that the people, they will have no fear and they will not have any what? Grief. What is the difference between, and this is the first note you're going to take, what is the difference between fear and sadness? Anyone know? What is the difference between fear and sadness? ما الفرق بين خوف وحزن؟
No difference between fear and sad. Fear, you're scared. You don't have to be scared of something to be sad.
All right, you don't have to be, say it again?
You don't have to be scared of something to be sad.
So basically, fear is like a outward thing that you display.
You can be fearful inside and not show.
Okay. But mostly, a person, if he's afraid of something, it's going to show.
Yeah.
Likewise, if a person is sad, it may not show, but he's what? They're hurting on the inside.
Right.
Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He negates both negatives. In Jannah, there is nothing that's going to outwardly disturb you, and there's nothing that's going to be what? That's inwardly going to disturb you. It is pure perfection. You may have something that, for an example, may bother a person on the inside, or a sister, she may not truly be happy, or a brother, he might not truly be happy. However, in Jannah, it is the ultimate happiness. There is nothing that will ever bother a person outside, nor inside. So therefore, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He negates both negatives. This is why He says in the Quran, constantly through the Quran, in Jannah there's no fear and there's no what? There's no grief, there's no sadness. Okay? Also, having said this as well, there's a general rule. So the second note, if you're taking notes or you're texting on your phone, the second note I want you to take general rule when it comes to paradise. Because this is going to apply in the class today, and it's also going to apply when we talk about the rewards of Jannah. The general rule is that when we talk about, or any ayah or any hadith that mentions the rewards of paradise, the men and the women will have them. Alright, it's not just specifically for the men or specifically for the women. That is the general rule. Now, of course, there's going to be certain rewards that's going to be explicit for the men, and obviously there's certain rewards that's going to be explicit for the women as well. And once we go for next week, we're going to talk about in detail what would the women have in Jannah as well. But again, the general rule is what? If we read an ayah or hadith, if it doesn't specify, then the reward is for what?
Both.
For both parties. Unless there's a text that specifies this is just for men or this is just for women. Having said that, I want someone to go to Surah Al-Zumar, verse number 71. Zumar 71.
You gotta find it.
Yeah, I wrote the rest of them down. I just forgot to write that one down. You have it, Habib? Who has it? You know, all these iPhones, mashallah.
71?
Huh?
71?
71.
And those who disbelieve shall be driven
70, sorry.
Oh, yeah. And every soul shall be paid back fully what it has done, and He knows best what they do.
You see?
Surah Zumar?
Yeah. No. I'm sorry, 73. I love you too, akhi. Mashallah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Kullu bani Adam khata. All the children of Adam, they make mistakes, akhi. Alright. Alhamdulillah. Alright, 73.
And those who are careful of their duty to their Lord shall be conveyed to the garden in companies.
You skipped something.
This is the beginning of the verse. 73, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm sorry, good. It's 73, brother. Read.
Until when they come to it, and its doors shall be opened, and the keepers of it shall say to them, Peace be unto you.
All right, stop. Here, I want everyone to imagine, inshallah ta'ala, this is you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned, and those who believe will be driven to Jannah in crowns. And then also, with the thing that He mentions, He says, حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا. When He talks about the hellfire, we explained it before, the wow is not there. However, the wow is here in this particular verse, meaning that when they first are coming to the gates of Jannah, the doors were closed. Because the first person to enter Jannah is who?
Prophet Muhammad.
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then once the doors of Jannah are open, subhanallah, the words of the malaika that will say to the people, Salamu alaykum. Peace be what? Unto you. And not only that, Tibtum fadkhuluha khalidin. You have been purified. What is the meaning of Tibtum? You have been purified. So therefore, if you're taking notes, what does it mean to be purified in Surah Al-Zumar, verse number 73? Alright? Surah Al-Zumar, verse number 73, what does it mean to be purified? Tibtum fadkhuluha khalidin. The here when that malaika, when people are entering Jannah, the understanding of Tibtum is a few different things. The first thing is that your statements, aqwalukum, are purified. There will be no ill speech in Jannah. You will not be able to carry your beefs in Jannah. I don't like you. I don't want to come to your kingdom, or so on and so forth. There's no beefs in Jannah. You will not be able to lie or anything. Tibtum, you've been purified. This is the first thing that some of the ulama, they mention, as far as the statements of the people are purified in Jannah. Be laughter and happiness. Those who you had a problem with before, we already made up where? Adam. What's that bridge called where everybody has to make islah? No, not the salat.
Qantara.
Huh?
Qantara.
Qantara. It's the qantara. Alright? Because the salat, everybody that believes they have to walk over it. Okay? But after they get there, there's another small bridge. We did it a few classes ago. It's called qantara. However, the point is, tibtum fadkhuluha khalidin. Here, we said the first type of purification is meaning the statements. There's no ill speech. There's no lies. There's no cursing. There's none of that in Jannah. Okay? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. The next type of purification that the scholars of tafsir that they mention is af'alukum. Your actions are purified. There will be no ill hatred towards your brother or towards your sister. It's pure love. Everyone will basically be upon one heart. And we'll come in a later hadith, we'll explain what that means. But also your statements, aqwalukum wa af'alukum. Your statements and your actions are pure. There's no evil intentions. Right now, someone says, Akhi, come help me. Some of us may feel like, well, he has a private agenda or something like that. There is no private agendas in Jannah. Alright? It's just love and happiness with each other. Another statement that some of the scholars of Islam, they mention that this statement is made to people who suffered in the grave. They were purified in the grave. The torture of the grave. Or some people who dakhalu nar wa iyad billah minha. They entered the fire and they were purified due to their sins. Then some of the scholars of Islam, they mentioned the horrors that we will go through on the day of judgment. This is why the malaika, they will mention, you have been purified. Then also as well, some of the hardships that we go in this dunya, throughout this dunya. The problems, the loss of loved ones, the loss of wealth, the loss of lives, and so on and so forth. All these things are for a purification for the people before they enter Jannah. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're not going to go to it for the sake of time, but this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-A'raf 7:43, if you're taking notes, نَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّنْ غِلٍّ. We have taken out of their hearts what? Ghil. What is ghil? Does anyone know? Huh? That's more than just rancor. All these type of evil feelings, rancor, hatred, jealousy. We have taken that out of the hearts of the people. It's not just the men and it's not just the women. Everyone who will enter Jannah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, نَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّنْ غِلٍّ. We have taken the ghil out of their hearts. And that's hatred, it's jealousy. There's no ill feelings in Jannah. So therefore, again, this is in compliance with the ayah with the angels, the malaika, they will say, Salamu alaykum tibtum, you have been purified. And this purification, as some of the scholars of Islam, they mention again, this is the things that the person was subjected to prior to entering Jannah, whether it be the grave or whether it be the horrors of the Day of Judgment. But the point is, subhanAllah, the best of the salams you will ever be given will be from the malaika. Salamu alaykum. The malaika, at that point, you can finally see the angels. You can see the rewards of Jannah. Everything, and the malaika themselves are saying what? Salamu alaykum. Peace be upon you. This is the reward for what you have been patient upon. And you have been purified and have it whatever your heart desires. SubhanAllah. So that's in regards to that. There's another thing that I want to mention as for, we're going over just the descriptions of paradise. And I'm trying to be very careful not to talk about the rewards because that's going to be next week. However, this is a hadith that's collected inside Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So if you're taking notes, you want to write Bukhari and Muslim. And basically, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the first people, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ زُمْرَ يَدْخَلُونَ الْجَنَّةِ. The first group of people to enter paradise, their faces will be so bright like the moon of Badr. Okay, how bright this particular moon was. And then it goes on to mention, the Prophet ﷺ goes on to mention, these people, the people who enter Jannah, they will not urinate. There's no urination in Jannah. Okay? They will not defecate. Alright? And also, there's no spit. They will not spit. And as well, they will not blow their noses. So I'm going to ask you a question. If we eat in this dunya, after we eat, we have to use the bathroom, right or wrong? Right. So how would the people of Jannah, they're eating, but how would they get rid of this food? Does anyone know? Burp. Some of the people they mentioned, they will burp. And some of them mentioned they will sweat. And even their burp and their sweat will smell like mist. There's nothing impure inside of Jannah at all. Tibtum fadkhuluha khalidin. You have been purified. Enter Jannah, have whatever your heart desires. Not only that, as well as mentioned as well, that these people, they will have combs made out of pure gold. When we talk about gold, we're talking about the gold of Jannah. We're not talking about the cheap gold in the dunya. Alright? Allah is not cheap. You have the best gold that has ever been created by Allah Jalla wa Ala. And it's the comb that you will comb your hair with. Having said this, I don't want, there was a person that asked a question, and unfortunately, this is a big misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding. You have a hadith that's actually mentioned that the people will enter Jannah hairless. Meaning the brothers as well, there will be no, what? It's no beards. Alright? And there will be no hair on their bodies. So I remember one of the sisters, she said, Astaghfirullah, I'm going to be bald. Alright? It does not mean that a person will be bald. However, the person's skin will be smooth and they will have no hair on their actual body. Alright? There's no point in having a gold comb if you're going to be what? Bald. Alright? So alhamdulillah, but you will have your hair, inshallah ta'ala. Okay? However, there will be no actual hair on the physical body of the person. This is what it means. Excuse me. Having said this as well, the Prophet ﷺ also went on to mention that their mannerisms will be أخلاقهم على خلق رجل واحد. That their mannerisms will be basically, they will have the same type of mannerisms. Now some hadith mention the hearts of the people of Jannah will be one. Meaning there's no ill hatred, there's no rancor that you feel towards your brother. Oh, he didn't, give me money in the dunya when I needed it. He didn't do this for me. He didn't do this. Don't forget, ikhwan, brothers and sisters, نَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّنْ غِلٍّ. Everything that has been taken out of their hearts. You are in the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the point. Having said this as well, I want to mention something. There will be a certain thing in Jannah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will call out to the people of Jannah, Ya Ahl al Jannah. Allah Jalla wa Ala will call out. And this is not like the calling of anyone else. This is your Lord, Rabbul Alameen. The one who has created everything will call out to the people of Jannah, Ya Ahl al Jannah. And the people will come. And in some narrations, some of the scholars of Tafsir, they mention that the Malaika will go and get the people. That Allah desires to have a meeting with you. You imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not like the meeting with anybody else. Allah wants to meet you. And He will call out, Ya Ahl al-Jannah, and when the people come, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will say to them, are you pleased? Are you pleased? Can you imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking the people, are you pleased? The people, they would say, and why will we not be pleased when you have given us things you have never given any other creation? And you have saved us from the fire. But there is a reward better than Jannah. Now I want somebody, what can be a reward better than Jannah? Huh? To see Rabbul Jalla wa Ala. To see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is that better than Jannah itself? Huh? The brothers, why is seeing Allah better than the whole Eid?
See the Creator.
Huh?
You see the Creator of everything.
You get to see everything. You get to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why some of the scholars of Islam, they also mention the people who are destined to be in the hellfire forever, they will never ever have the opportunity to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a punishment in and of itself. To know that a person has to go to hell and stay there forever and never get to see the one who put them there. Or never get to see the one who created everything. It is a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the people to get to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then not only that as well, Allah Azza wa Jalla will mention in this meeting, on this day I have become pleased with you. And I will never ever become what? Angry ever again. To know that your Lord is pleased, this is greater than Jannah in and of itself. Because again, Jannah is a creation. The pleasure of Allah is from the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not created. To know that your Lord is pleased with you in and of itself. No one in this room no matter how long you've been Muslim, no one knows for sure if Allah is pleased with you or not. Right or wrong?
Right.
However, to be in Jannah, to have all the rewards you can ever have, and to know for a fact that my Lord is pleased with me, and no matter what I do from this point on, hatta abad, until eternity, He will never ever be angry, or He will never be sad, or excuse me, not sad, He will never be angry with me. That in and of itself is a reward. Also now, we want to mention the people, when they enter Jannah, they will be of a certain age. Some scholars of Islam, some hadith, they mention the people of Jannah will be either 30 years old or they will be 33. And that age will never change. They will not get older, nor will they get younger. They will be 33 or 30 or 33 years old. All right? As well, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in the hadith, he said that in Jannah there are things ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب البشر. That there are things in Jannah that no eye has ever seen. No ear has what? Ever heard? And no heart has ever imagined. We read this hadith and we just pass by. But I want you to think about that. ولا خطر على قلب البشر. I want you to think about that, because when you use the word khatar in Arabic, it's not just something that people think about. It's something you never even imagine this. And I want you to even think about it as well. From the beginning of creation, or let's take a step back. There may be something that maybe you have an idea in your head, and it comes to find out someone already invented it, or whatever the case may be, and like subhanAllah, they beat me to the punch. However, in Jannah, the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا لَا عَيْنْ رَأَتْ وَلَا أُذْنٍ سَمِعَتْ وَلَا خَطَرَ عَلَى قَلْبِ الْبَشَرِ. You have to understand that from the beginning of creation, and let's say Allahu A'lam, and no one knows, but let's say Yawm al-Qiyamah is millions and billions of years from now. You mean to tell me not one person from the beginning of creation all the way until the end, no one has ever even imagined what's inside of Jannah? That in and of itself, out of billions and billions and trillions of people, not one of them has even thought about some of the rewards that the people will get inside of Jannah. Another thing we want to talk about as well is that Sifat in Jannah. Now we're going to actually go into the descriptions of Jannah in and of itself. First and foremost, Jannah is very, very wide. How wide is Jannah? Does anyone know?
Very.
May Allah bless you. Okay. Yes, it's very wide. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-Imran 3:133. Who can read it? 3:133. We're going to find out how wide Jannah is. And even then, some of the scholars of tafsir, they mentioned that actually Jannah is wider than this. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only mentioned this in this particular way because this is the widest thing that mankind knows. So we'll be able to relate to it. We understand how wide it is. But some of the scholars of tafsir actually mentioned Jannah is actually wider than that. But let's find out what Allah says. 3:133. I'm sure.
And hasten to forgiveness from your Lord, and a garden, the extensiveness of which is as the heavens and the earth. It is prepared for those who guard against evil.
Here, Jannah is the vastness of it, the width of it. Is the distance of what? The heavens and the earth. And as again, some of the scholars of tafsir, they mention actually Jannah is actually bigger than this. This is the biggest thing that mankind knows, the universe. Well, because so we can understand, this is why Allah actually mentioned it. But again, to show some of how big Jannah is, there's a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Inna fi Jannah shajar." There's a tree in paradise that if a person was riding on a fast horse next to this tree, it will not pass the tree even if it rolled for 100 years. That's how wide this particular tree is. We're talking about one tree in Jannah. One tree. Since we're talking about trees, actually there's another hadith, and this hadith is collected inside Tirmidhi. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that مَا فِي الْجِنَّةِ شَجَرَةٍ إِلَّا وَسَاقُهَا مِنَ الذَّهَبِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned there is no tree in Jannah except that the trunk of the tree is made out of pure gold. The trees in Jannah are made out of pure gold. And again, this is just talking about the vastness and how wide Jannah actually is. I want you to think about something. The thing I want you to think about is that we did last week, we talked about what? The punishments of the hellfire. And one of the things we mentioned, we said the hellfire actually speaks, and is mentioned, the hellfire actually speaks, and is mentioned, hal min mazid. Is there any more? Until Allah will fill up the hellfire, until parts start to crush upon other parts, and the hellfire will mention enough, 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 where it's full. However, Jannah is so wide that after all of creation, those who are allowed to enter Jannah, after all of creation, from the beginning of Adam alayhi salam, not you Adam, but the beginning of Adam alayhi salam, okay, all the way into the end, until everyone has entered paradise, there will actually be room left over. So much so, it is mentioned in another hadith that Allah Azza wa Jalla will start to create creation just so they can fill Jannah up. That's how wide it actually is. You understand that? It is so wide. Again, compare the two. The hellfire became so full, well, Allah closed it and started to what? Certain parts of the crush on other parts. Jannah is so wide that after these billions and trillions, and Allah knows best how many people have entered it, it is still space left over, so much so that Allah will begin to create other creation just so they can fill up Jannah and have the rewards of Jannah. Another thing as well, actually, there was a man during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he wanted to challenge the Prophet ﷺ. And he went to him, he said, "Oh Muhammad, you say that Jannah is the distance between what? The heavens and the earth. That's everything. If that is the case, where is this hellfire that you're threatening me with? If Jannah is that wide, and it takes up everything, فَأَيْنَ يَكُونُ النَّارُ? Where's the fire?" The Prophet ﷺ, he answered the question with a question. And he said, when the night comes and it covers up everything, where's the daytime? The man said, "Sah." Okay, never mind. Likewise, the understanding of the hadith is Jannah is in this place and the hellfire is in this place. There's no contradiction. There's no ta'arud. So when the night comes and it covers up everything in Columbia, and we know there's no more daytime, or that's it, there was no daytime, is there a contradiction? No. All right, so that's the understanding. This is the response that the Prophet ﷺ gave to him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Another thing as well, now we want you, if you're taking notes, I want you to write levels of Jannah. Next week we're actually going to the rewards, but now we're going to speak about the levels of Jannah. There's a hadith that actually mentions there is 100 levels, and actually some scholars of Islam, they actually mention there's more. Some based upon this hadith, the scholars of Islam, they mention that the levels of Jannah actually are, in the number of ayats in the Quran is 6,236. So they say there's that many levels, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. However, about the levels, the distance between each level is actually, comes in the hadith, is a distance of 100 years. Between each level of Jannah, no matter how many levels there actually is, the distance between them is how big? And then people will actually get to see those who, the levels actually above them. Alright? And we're going to explain it because some people may ask, well, if I get to see the rewards of those who are above me, I may become what? Jealous. Again, we have taken everything out of their hearts, but now I want you to think about this. First and foremost, we can see galaxies even with the naked eye on a certain, if the night is clear and so on and so forth, and there's thousands and thousands, actually if you tried to travel, years away. But we can still see it, so you can understand, you can see something that's 100 years away, especially in Jannah. So there's no contradiction there. However, as well, what is the understanding? Why will the people be able to see, or not necessarily why, but I'm going to prove a point, how there is no jealousy, even though you get to see those who are above you. Some of us in this room may have family members who are well off, they're financially off. Or you ever traveled, you took your family and you may travel to a particular area or a particular city that's better than the one you live at. Yes or no? Mm-hmm. All right. And then when you're traveling in this neighborhood and you see all these nice houses and all these particular things, do you feel some type of way?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Are you being honest? Okay. But some people, they don't, and everybody's like you. All right. You have some people, if they visit their family member, they may visit their brother in Texas or whatever the case may be, and he lives in a better house. He has a bigger house. He has 8 bedrooms or whatever have you. And he has a nice car and particular things, and you're happy for him. You're happy what you have, and you're happy for him as well. All right. And you're not in Jannah yet, so you still got that really in your heart, huh?
Yeah.
Astaghfirullah. Okay. So what happens here is that what's going to happen is that if we can understand this example in this dunya, where you can travel and see other things that are better and you don't feel a certain type of way, then how much more for Jannah? When you get to see the rewards of other people, alhamdulillah, you're content with what you have.
Yeah.
I have this huge, huge, huge kingdom. The lowest man in Jannah, the lowest man, وَهُوَ خَرَجَ مِنَ النَّارِ, and he came out of the fire, is mentioned in the hadith, he will have a space in Jannah the size of 10 earths. And he came out of the hellfire. So how much more for the person who entered Jannah who never went to hell to begin with? Subhanallah. If that is the case, I really don't care what you got. Because what I got, alhamdulillah. And if it's that serious, I can just ask Allah to give it to me. And the what? I can have whatever my heart desires anyway. Do you understand that? Play it. So this is regards to this. With some people, they try to ask the question, well, if you see the rewards of those who are above you, you're going to be jealous. Then give them this answer. We understand if we travel in the dunya, we see other things that are better than mine. I don't feel some type of way. Or you may have a nice hotel or something like that, and you see the buildings, you see these nice things outside your window, and it makes you, alhamdulillah, I can see these particular things, and you don't feel a certain type of way. If that is the case, or you do feel a type of way. However, at the end of the day, alhamdulillah, in Jannah there is no hatred whatsoever. Also in Jannah, there is no sun and there is no moon. ليس في الجنة الشمس ولا قمر. In Jannah there's no sun and there's no moon. So somebody may ask, if there's no sun, where's the daytime? And if there's no moon, where's the what? There's a light in Jannah, and this light comes from the Arsh of Rahman. This will be the light of Jannah. However, there is no day and there is no night. There's no sun and there's no moon. Let's actually look at, before we actually look at that, and the weather of paradise, mu'tadil, is basic. It's not hot, it's not too hot, and it's not what? It's not cold. The weather of Jannah is just right for you. There's nothing, again, there's nothing to disturb you outwardly and what? As we mentioned, Allah says, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. There's no sadness, there's no fear and there's no sadness. And we said fear is usually something that person displays outwardly, and there's no sadness in the inside. There's nothing to ever disturb this person, not even down to the weather. You might be in a particular place, a beautiful place like Colombia, alhamdulillah, right? But however, the weather in South Carolina is horrible. Okay, ma'alesh, it's horrible. In the morning time, it's cold. 5 minutes is hot, then it's snowing, and then in this, and then tornado, and yada yada, and so on and so forth. Okay. However, in Jannah, there is nothing to ever disturb you, not even the weather. There's no sun and there's no moon. However, the light that the people will have comes from what? The Arsh, the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having said this as well, and some people may ask this question as well. Oh, excuse me, the proof for that the weather is just right is 76:13. Surah Al-Insan 13. Now as well, the people in the Jannah, la yunamun, they will not sleep. There's no sleeping in Jannah. There's no sleeping. And I remember I mentioned this before, and somebody got angry. I want to sleep. My whole life, people have been messing with me. I just want to sleep for 1,000 years. All right, but you can't. There's no Grinch in Jannah. You can't be this upset and angry. All right. However, the people will not sleep. And the reason why there is no sleeping, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, an-nawm akhlu maut, that sleeping is the brother of what? Of death. And there is no death in Jannah. And the reason why a person sleeps anyway is either because he or she is tired, or they're sick, or so on and so forth, but there is no sickness in Jannah. Why do you need to sleep? Also, let me give another example. Somebody may say, well, still, I want to sleep. All right. However, as well, let's say you've been waiting for something as children, and the children, they know. Maybe you've been telling your children all night that we're going to go to Six Flags or we're going to go to Carowinds, or better yet, I'm taking you to Disneyland. Tomorrow I'm going to go to Disneyland. We're going to Disneyland. Be honest. Can your children sleep that night?
Not really.
Not really. They might sleep just because but they're not sleeping because they want to. Their body just, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I can't sleep. And even then, he might sleep for 5 minutes, get up, is it time yet? All right? But he's always excited. And when he or she, they finally get to Disneyland, they're running, doing this. You can't even keep up with them. If we understand that for something in the dunya, how more so about Jannah? You've been waiting for this your whole life. You spent thousands of years in the grave waiting for it. Yawm al-Qiyamah is 50,000 years anyway. You've been waiting that long. Then you get to the gates of Jannah and the doors is closed. And you waiting. And it's finally open and you want to sleep? Something wrong with you. Okay, no one goes to Disneyland, just go to sleep. All right? So what happens here, if you can understand that, you finally have this ultimate reward. And the first thing you could think about is sleep, akhi. SubhanAllah. All right? There is no sleeping inside of Jannah. Everyone will have whatever their heart desires. As well inside of Jannah as well, I want to mention, just for the sake of time, we're just going to mention 2 more things. Inshallah, and this is actually talking about the descriptions of paradise. Or we mentioned 3 more things, or a few more things, just say a few more things. There's a hadith of one of the companions who was actually in love with horses. He loved horses. So he asked the Prophet ﷺ, and Jannah, are there going to be any horses? So the Prophet ﷺ, he actually mentioned, and some of the scholars of Islam, they actually mentioned this is for everybody. How would the people get around in Jannah? How would you travel if you want to go to your friend's kingdom to see him? Okay? If he's not asleep, okay? How would you actually see him? So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to this particular companion, and some of the scholars of Islam mentioned it's for everybody, and Allah knows best, because of the affairs of the unseen. It's mentioned that there will be actually a horse made out of rubies. All right?
Rubies?
Rubies or gold or some precious material. And that will have wings that will fly him wherever he wants to go. This is how some of the people will actually get around. Also, the soil of Jannah is also made of saffron, misk, and as some of the scholars mentioned, pearls and rubies as well. That which you actually are walking on, this is what Jannah is made out of. SubhanAllah. Also in Jannah as well, and again, we're just talking about the rewards of Jannah. I want to mention the rivers of paradise. Can someone read it? Surah to Muhammad, verse number 15. What are the rivers in paradise? Huh? Milk? Honey? Khamar? Wine? Huh? You said, oh yeah. SubhanAllah. Say, you can't get drunk in Jannah. Because the wine, I'm serious. I know we say that's a joke. There's no getting intoxicated in Jannah. This heavenly wine, the people will actually drink out of what? Just to drink it. The best wine, the one who made it is what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? You really have it. Let's tell you. Let's read it. Let's talk about these rivers. Huh?
A parable of the garden which those guarding against evil are promised. Therein are rivers of water that does not alter.
All right, so here the first river that the people will have as well, and everyone will be able to have some of this, some of the river. This river is water that the taste nor the smell never ever changes. Ever. After ba'da fatra tawila, it will never ever change. After a long period of time, it will never ever change. Pure water. The next river, go ahead.
Rivers of milk.
Rivers of milk. Lebanon. Alright? The rivers of milk. And we're not talking about any type of milk. We're talking about milk that Allah has created himself. And you have to know it's something special when Allah mentions that it's beautiful. For an example, my taste may be different from your taste. My taste may be different from Hamza, may be different from Adam, which I like, he may not like. But if Allah tells you that everyone is going to like it, subhanAllah. You have rivers of water, you have rivers of milk. What else do you have?
Rivers of drink delicious to those who drink, and the rivers of honey clarified, and for them
But
therein.
before that, it's actually, you mentioned, when it says delicious to those who drink, it's talking about actually what? Khamar. Alcohol. Well, I shouldn't say alcohol. Khamar. Alright, just leave it like that. Khamar. Because if I say alcohol, everybody's going to start thinking about different things. Alright? But khamar, the best type of khamar that has ever been created. Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this heavenly wine that Allah has created, it is made for the people to what? And I want you to think about it again. The food that the people will eat. And again, that's going to be for next week because it kind of falls underneath to the rewards. I mean, so next week we're going to talk about the rewards of paradise. But the food and the drink, there's no dying in Jannah. So if you don't eat in this dunya, if you don't eat or drink, you're eventually going to do what? Die. You're going to die. But in Jannah, if a person doesn't eat and drink, is he going to die? No. So why is he eating and drinking anyway? Just out of pleasure. Because he wants to. And it's mentioned that, and I'll just mention this hadith as well. It's mentioned that one person will be sitting in his kingdom and he will eat 300 different types of trays that Allah has created for him to eat. And he will eat, each one will be different from the one that came before. And he would just burp and what? And keep going. Alright? The food that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best of tabakh, the best cooker, the best Allah has created for you for himself. For you to eat it. And I said we're going to save it to next week, but what is going to be the first food of paradise? Anyone know? Huh? Right? Fish liver. Alright? Now, in this dunya, you may be like, I don't really like fish. I already don't like fish liver, so on and so forth. Alright? However, now Allah has created it for you, so you're going to like it. You're going to love it. Alright? So it's not like, or your husband is cooking it for you or something like that. There's no burnt food in Jannah, okay? Play it. So having said this, you're going to love the food that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to prepare for you. The best, so the brothers who cook, or the brothers who have restaurants, mashallah, then you have the best food in Jannah. The best types of food in Jannah. Alright, that's in regards to that. Now also, we read all the different rivers.
Oh, yeah, the honey.
You also have rivers of honey as well. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So you have rivers of water, you have rivers of milk. You have rivers of khamar. And you have rivers of what?
Honey.
A river of honey, subhanAllah. Now also one of the things we're going to mention as well is that you will have servants in Jannah. And Allah knows how many servants He will give. And again, the general rule is what? That everyone. We said that when we talk about all these rewards, men and women will partake in it. The rewards we're talking about, none of these rewards specifically for men, and none of these rewards specifically for women. Unless there's a hadith that clearly states this is for men and this is for women, then generally everyone will partake in them. Okay? So therefore, the people of Jannah, they will have personal servants. Servants that will serve them. Anything that their heart desires. You don't have to do anything. To mention another narration as well, that even if you want something from a tree, the tree will bow itself and give it to you. The fruits off the tree. There's no top, there's nothing, and you don't have to do anything. And if you desire something, you want something, your servants can give it for you. As well, let's just read what Allah says. Let's find out what Allah says. Surah Al-Insan, verse number 19. Huh?
You want to finish this verse?
No.
Surah Al-Insan?
76, 19.
And round about them shall go youths, never altering in age. When you see them, you will think them to be scattered pearls.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually mentions in other verses the beauty of these young youth that's actually walking around at your every command. That they will be at your every command, whatever you want them to do, wherever you want, they are there for you. They are basically, if I can say, they are basically the butlers of Jannah for you to do, basically to serve you. They are not for anyone else. They are specifically for who? For you. If you want, listen, I need this, I want this, I want this. I want to try these 5,000 dishes today. I want to try this, I want some lobster. I want this, I want this. Whatever you want, you can have it. Whatever your heart desires. There's no hatred. There's nothing in Jannah. All right? And can you imagine, I want you to think about this. Can you imagine, let's say you are in your kingdom, in paradise, and you hear a knock on the door. وَتَفْتَحْ بَاب, you open the door, وَتَجِدْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, and you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you imagine the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes to your kingdom, and it's not a hadith, but you can have whatever you desire. Can you imagine if the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam invites you personally, I want you to have dinner with me? Or can you imagine Isa alayhi salam, or the women to sit with Aisha radiallahu anha, Khadija radiallahu anha? You read the hadith about Abu Bakr. What's preventing you to go to Abu Bakr's kingdom to ask him, I want to spend time with you? Tell me, I read this about, did you do this, did you do this, so on and so forth. To see Yusuf alayhi salam. To see these people that you actually read about. There's no more reading. To actually go and have conversation with them, laugh and have fun with them. So on and so forth. To see those who you once lost in this dunya. Your grandparents or those who you used to love. To see your ancestors who are Muslim. That you never, we actually going to go over that next week as well. About the rewards of the sisters in paradise. Huh? La. No. No, alhamdulillah, that's reward now. There's no more test. Alright? So the sisters don't have to wear niqab. Okay? There's no hijab and so on and so forth. There's no salat. There's no ibadah. There's no nothing. It's time for what? Reward. That's one of the things I forgot to mention as well, and it kind of falls underneath the rewards of paradise. Can I have like 2 more minutes?
Yeah, 15 more minutes.
Play it. So basically, what happens here, the people will have mansions upon mansions in Jannah. It's a brick of gold and a brick of silver. It's also mentioned in certain castles of paradise. We ain't talking about, to call it a mansion will be disrespectful. The castles that Allah has created for you. The furniture that you have, it's even disrespectful to call it furniture. That which Allah has created for you in general. Specifically for you. That which you desire. And it's mentioned in this hadith that I don't know how it works out. However, Allah knows best. In one narration it mentioned you will be able to see the inside from the outside, and you can see the outside from the inside. How does that work out? Allahu Ta'ala a'lam. However, this is the creation that Allah will give you. Even the colors of Jannah is not nothing like you have ever seen. The proof for this is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was ascended to the heavens and he saw the tree that no one can go past. He said that this particular tree is wrapped in colors I can't even describe to you. The different things in Jannah. There's no hatred. There's no nothing. It's pure pleasure. Okay? That's in regards to that. We're not going to spend too much time. And I don't want to keep talking because this is going to end up going into the rewards. And when we go into the rewards, we're going to talk about the marketplace of Jannah, the clothing of Jannah. What would the men have? What would the women have as well? And we're going to spend up the jewelry and all those particular things that everyone will have in Jannah as well. Is there any questions about what I mentioned so far? About the vastness of Jannah and so on and so forth?
I have a question.
Tayyib to follow.
The verse before Surah Ihsan. What surah were we in?
Surah Muhammad. And there's actually about the vastness of Jannah. I forgot to mention one thing. But tafadhal.
What was the verse on Surah Muhammad?
Surah Muhammad about the
What was the number?
15.
Okay. Alright, so toward the end of the verse it says there's fruits and protection from their Lord, and it says, are these like those who abide in the fire or make to drink the boiling water? Because we're talking about the boiling water. So it renders their bowels asunder. Can you just...
Well, remember we spoke about last time, we talked about the different punishments. You remember how some of the ulama, they compare basically the people of Jannah, which I forgot to mention, they are also increased in size. And the people of Jannah will be actually how tall, who knows? 60 what? 60 arm lengths basically in the sky. And actually, if you actually want to try to physically understand this, when you leave the masjid, you can go on your phone. There's actually, I can't believe it was Al-Akh Saudi or ممكن Kuwaiti ما أدري نسيت. But there was a guy, whether it was from Kuwait or from Saudi Arabia, he actually hired, I think, like 100 tailors. And he wanted them to make a thobe the size of 60 arm lengths. All right? And those who actually have their phone, they can look it up. And they had to hang this, they had to use a crane to actually hang this thobe up to show how big. And he just basically wanted the people to see how big would the people actually be in Jannah. All right? But again, to answer the question, some of the scholars, they basically say, well, the people in Jannah increase in size, the people in hellfire increase in size. They have food in Jannah, however, the food of the hellfire will actually torture them, so on and so forth. They try to make that comparison, and they'll use ayahs like that as well. But again, that's another thing we forgot to mention as well, that the people will be 33 years old, and it will be the size of Adam alayhi salam, which is 60 cubic or 60 arm lengths as well. And again, if you want to try to get an understanding of that, you can look it up on Google. There was a brother as well, Jazahullah khair. He attempted, and Allah actually knows best, but he attempted to show the people what the size of the people we will be in Jannah. May Allah grant us the highest of Jannah. I mean, I just want to mention something too about the darajat of Jannah. When you go up, the better the things get. All right, the more beautiful the people will be as well, and the rewards get better and better and better. There is the Prophet said the highest of Jannah is called what? Firdaus. The Prophet mentioned, if you ask for Jannah, ask for what? Firdaus. It's the highest of paradise, and above it is the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there is a place higher than Firdaus. However, it's only for one person. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's called wasila, and it's for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is why when we hear the adhan, this is why we should repeat after the adhan, and we should also make dua after the adhan and ask the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ask Allah, to give the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam this particular place. And in return, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will make shafa'ah for you. Okay? However, that for us, alhamdulillah, for those, there's nothing better than that. Alhamdulillah. And to have also private meetings with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want to go too much about it because that's going to go into the rewards of next week, about the pleasure of the food. And also, alhamdulillah, I have to stop talking to them, we'll talk about the rewards. However, there's a tent in Jannah. A tent. Khayma. It's a tent. This tent is actually 60 miles wide. And is made out of a hollow pearl. And it's also 60 miles high in the sky. Khayma, it's a tent. So much so that when a person goes to different parts of the tent to see different people, they were never able to see one another. It's how the beauty of the things that people will have in Jannah. There's no hatred. There's no nothing. It's pleasure upon pleasure. And as the angels mentioned, Salamu alaykum tibtum fadkhuluha khalidin. You will never ever die. This reward is for eternity. Alright, we understand that? Khalas, we'll next week we actually going to go into thawab and Jannah, the actual rewards of paradise in detail. Is there any other question we mentioned about the descriptions of Jannah so far? No?
What about your memory? Like in Jannah, like would you still remember everything in this life? Or only the good? Like if you make it to Jannah, will you remember everything that happened to you in this life here?
So here, alhamdulillah, that's a good question, because some people may ask, well, there are indications though that the people will reminisce in Jannah. However, they will reminisce upon the good times. As for the issue with that as well is that some people may say, well, I'm going to think about some people who didn't make it with me and so on and so forth, and I'll end up being sad. This is why Allah clarifies, لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. There's no fear and there's no sadness. So certain things, either a person basically will not think about it. The person will not think about it. Actually, if you go to Surah Al-A'raf, subhanallah, there's a conversation between Ahlul Nar and Ahlul Jannah. And if you go back to the tafsir of Imam Baghawi, when the people of Jannah are entering Jannah, and this is subhanallah, the people of the hellfire, they will call on the people of Jannah. And in tafsir, it actually mentions the people of the hellfire who had family who are entering paradise. They will call on Allah and ask them, can you bring them close so we may speak to them? And what happens here is mentioned that when the people of Jannah, they see the people of the hellfire, because of from the severe torment, they will not even recognize who they are. So much so the people of the hellfire, they will remind them that I'm so and so and so and so, fulan bu fulan. And they will try to remind them of the favors that they did for them in the dunya. Remember I did this for you, remember I did this for you? But the only thing we'll ask for, afidu, just give us some what? Just water. I did this for you and I did this for you, just give us some water. And they will mention the answer will be what? No, it's forbidden. It's haram. I can't give it to you. But again, these are some of the remnants that people will have of the dunya. However, it's not going to be anything that is going to cause the person harm or make the person sad, or my friend in the dunya, or my family member, they weren't believers, they wasn't a believer. I'm going to be sad, I'll be crying in Jannah, and there's none of that. All right, so that's in regards to that. As well, when we talk about you can have whatever your heart desires, the condition is whatever your heart desires when you do what? When you enter Jannah. All right, it's basically not necessarily now. And this is also why it's mentioned in that ayah, tibtum, you have been purified. Because you have a lot of things that people want now that is what?
Not pure.
Not good. And let's be honest, everybody has a little bit of evil in their chest. So you might have brothers or sisters or whatever case may be, they want stuff that's what? Haram. And so on and so forth. So whatever your heart desires, the understanding is that after you have been purified and you enter Jannah, whatever your heart desires at that particular point. Not necessarily what you want now.
Yes.
Alright? We got to be careful because, again, when you open that door, people start saying they'll start for all types of stuff. Haram and all types of stuff. You understand that? Play, inshallah. Is there any other questions?
So you said Jannah is like really wide, and Allah's basically gonna like create more people to come and fill it up. Does that mean it's gonna be like infinite amount of people, like constantly recreating them?
Allah knows best. It's from the face of the unseen. That which is clear from the hadith is that Allah actually will create a creation to fill it up. How will He continue to do so and this down there? I don't know. Allah knows best. But just the point is just to show how vast it is. After all of us, inshallah ta'ala, and all the people who has been tested in this dunya after they enter paradise, it is so vast it still will be left over. Another thing that I forgot to mention, that since you bring it up, Jannah, the rewards in Jannah, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He actually calls the people, it's the day of inheritance. The understanding of the scholars of tafsir, they say that every person in this room has a place in Jannah. They also have a place where?
No.
In the hellfire. And when a person actually enters Jannah, that place in the hellfire will be destroyed. Alright? So what does that mean, the day of inheritance? The scholars of Islam mention those people who are in the hellfire, who could have had Jannah, their rewards will be distributed to the what? To the people of Jannah. Alright? So their reward that they would have had will also be given to the people of Jannah, their houses and their kingdoms and so on and so forth. That they would have had, it will be distributed to the people of Jannah. Right? And that's in regards to that. Now.
So does that mean that like people can be in Jannah and like other people will be like on earth?
No, there's no more earth.
So what do you mean like created and just tested?
No, alhamdulillah. Alright, so jazakallah khair. So basically, Jannah is so wide that after everybody enters Jannah, there's still space left over in Jannah. So Allah will create a creation in Jannah to fill up Jannah. Alright? It's not going to be like I don't want to go back to the dunya here after the dunya. But don't say this out Allah. It's all, I ain't want to go back. Alright? Colombia, slide Allah. Okay? So that's in regards to that. There's no more earth, there's no more nothing. It's pure Jannah. Now, will Allah create other stuff after that? Allah knows best. But I really don't matter to me. I'm in Jannah. Right? It's already destroyed on Yom Qiyamah. As we went for the last week or a few weeks ago when we were talking about the Day of Judgment, when the trumpet is blown and everything will cease to exist. And it's mentioned in another surah where Allah will change the earth into another earth, and the people actually be judged on it, and so on and so forth. But once people enter Jannah, khalas, that's it. Everything is finished. Everything is finished. Nah. Any more questions? Nah, Tafadhal Hamza.
The servants that we get in Jannah, are they human?
Huh?
Are they human?
Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best.
Jannah, I mean, they basically be workers.
Yeah, here, Islam yatufu alayhim wildan. And he says that there will be young youth, your young boys, that will basically be their servants. So some of the scholars of Islam, they mentioned that they will resemble humans. Allah knows best how they will actually look. But a person will have some service. This actually mentioned another narration, or some people, they would dream, some of the companions or some of the student companions, they would dream about Jannah, and they will see that they had like hundreds of thousands of servants as well, you know, to serve them, because he has different kingdoms inside of Jannah, right? So he may have a servant that may travel with him, and so on and so forth. You can have whatever you want. And as well too, when you want to encourage the children, when we teach our children about Jannah, and just say, Akhi, you can have whatever your heart, or son, you can have whatever your heart desires, and things like that. And I remember actually listening to a lecture where a father was telling his son that you can have whatever he wants, and he was like, I want a house made out of chocolate. All right. So again, if that's what you want, alhamdulillah, you have your house made, your mansion made out of chocolate. Okay, and you just eat everything because there's no getting sick. Huh? Yeah. Hey now. So you can have whatever if you want to eat from the beginning for 1,000 years. You can have whatever you want. Okay. Alhamdulillah, you have whatever your heart desires, inshallah ta'ala. But again, you're going to be 33 years old. When you think about a house of chocolate, I mean, alhamdulillah, if you want it, you can have it. Okay? Tayyib, inshallah. Yes?
You said, like, people won't use the restroom or, like, spit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the fourth thing.
Huh?
You said people won't use the restroom, like, urinate or, like, feces. They also won't spit. What was, like, the fourth thing?
They won't blow their noses. Right? Because basically, all these are an indication of what? Impurities, weakness, and so on and so forth. It's pure perfection. And again, the people will eat just because of pleasure, and they will just, they'll burp, and that burp will smell like misk. All right? There's nothing offensive. All right? Someone burps now, Allah style. Okay? However, there's nothing offensive in Jannah. That burp will smell like misk, and a person will just continue to eat as well. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make us from the people of paradise. Ameen. Ameen. Allahumma ameen. And again, next week we're actually going to go into the rewards of paradise. And right now today we just spoke about the descriptions of paradise. Is there any questions?
How many doors is Jannah?
That was actually, I was going to mention that underneath the rewards next week. Because you have a door of fasting, a door of this, a door of that. So we're going to go over that next week, inshallah. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Any questions about the khamr, huh? Nah, just joke with you shit. طيب إن شاء الله. سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Was there any questions from Facebook? Anwar, is there any questions from Facebook?
I don't see anything.
Next one.